Hmm.
I do have a questionable thing about early access, or not early access, releasing for free. Now, here's the problem with that. You're gonna get these random people that never play SOCOM that are gonna go in, play it once, quit, and maybe leave a bad review, or maybe try to cheat in the game because it's free. Versus having a
Hmm.
price tag where, like, someone's not gonna be willing to pay $10 to go in and cheat and get banned, and then go pay again on another
Yeah.
account.
Well, yeah, we thought about that, and so we're putting things in place. I'm not gonna tell you what we're putting in place, but we're putting how do you say? We're kind of layering the way we're gonna build the game server side to where they're gonna hit walls. Like it's gonna be very very difficult for people to come in and cheat on the game. Um, and if they are cheating, we'll be able to see it on the back end on our side. So we'll have somebody in there reviewing or checking out the servers, and we get like a how
That's
do I
good to
say
hear.
this? Using kind of like Kali Linux and things like that, kind of just going in and getting actual game data, server data. Are there people in there that are fucking with the actual the game, and it'll tell us who it is and things like that. We'll be able to ban people, and so I think going forward, like we have things in place. So we're trying to get ahead of the ball to where looking at like cheaters, still giving it free to play, still trying to manage everything, and mm,
But what's to stop the guy you banned to create another Steam account and go load up on a free account and go cheat again? Is it going to be like a
mm.
IP ban maybe, or
We don't know right now. We're kind of like I know we talked about the hardware banning,
yeah,
um,
Mac?
but even if that, we can just ban their Steam account. I don't think somebody's going to go through the hassle to create a new email address, create a new Steam account. Then it's gonna be difficult as it is just to get through our servers like to cheat. So
You
um,
underestimate cheaters though. They will create
mhm,
like 10 names to 100 names if they want to, especially if they're there to do harm.
mhm. Yeah, we're trying to get ahead of the curve, man. I think that's probably one of our main priorities as opposed to I guess most free to play games. So we're trying to prioritize the making of the game, the character movement, the five mechanics of the game, and then making sure, like, yeah, we want to make sure the game's beautiful. So we're prioritizing that. But one of our top priorities when it comes to like actually playing the game is like targeting cheaters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Mm. And we don't
Definitely.
want people that have like different. I don't know. I'm not going to go there, but like some people when they create games, they don't really think about those things, and they just kind of whatever.
Like you said, hey, you're working on leaderboards, and what
Mhm.
about clan battles? I know a lot of people like tournaments, clan tournaments.
We're working on that. I think you'd have to talk to our developer that's actually does the server side. I think we can have maybe like a devlog. If you want to do a devlog stream podcast, we can do that. I'll bring in all
Okay,
the developers and then we'll meet and we'll do a devlog podcast with you basically, and then you can ask all the questions you want, and then we can kind of go from there. But those like leaderboards, things like that, we've already accounted for all that. We've accounted for clan system, clan names. Obviously, we're going to go through and put a filter on like you know what you can name your character and name your clan, things like that. Like we don't want people running around with obvious like obscene like racist names and shit like that. So
cool.
we're
Yeah,
kind of hammer down on that, and um, but leaderboards and things like that, we've already got that figured out, and we already have it working.
no.
So
Is it a level up system or a real rank system like a league rank, or is it like the old school SOCOM ranks where you get the
mm,
army ranks? How is
yeah,
it? Or
well, we're more than likely going to go with Navy ranks, obviously. But then again, that's kind of going to determine do we name our characters SEALs or do we name them SOF, right? So Special Operation Forces. I think if we go with SOF, I think we're probably gonna go with army ranks if we go the soft route. So,
And you
mm,
have that experience because you've been in the military, correct?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I mean,
Cool.
I've worked with some group guys before, so I think we're gonna go with probably special operation forces, and then kind of do some tweaking here and there, but use the army rank structure.
Nice. What
But there
about
is a
the?
level progression though.
Oh, okay. So there's two ranks. There's a level up system most likely, and then a rank on a military rank system.
Um, yeah, we haven't really got that far. We just know that we have a ranking system that's. I'd have to talk to the guy that's building the backend for the servers and things like that. That he's bringing over his system. So I've seen it. He showed me. And the way he explained it to me right now, as far as I'm understanding, is we do what I could see is like, yeah, we have a ranking system that levels up. You have to be between this amount of experience to go to the next level, and so on and so forth.
Nice.
But that's all handled server side. So it's not like you're playing the game and or something happens and you're gonna lose your rank. As long as you have your login, your name, it's gonna be saved. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna have your rank. You're not gonna lose anything as you progress. And if we decide to do like a seasonal thing and wipe and then go for maybe every few months, we'll hold a clan battle at the end. Between the top, we'll have the clans fight each other throughout the 3 or 4 months, and at the end we'll have them. We'll say, hey, these are the top ranking clans, and there's a couple things we can do to keep the community engaged, and then keep the community actually wanting the competitive player base, and have those guys playing against each other. And then we can also keep the casual player base that they want to level up. They want to get in-game currency from leveling and playing, and then spending that currency to get camos, as opposed to us selling camos. I think it's more important to the SOCOM players that they have the ability to play the game, get a currency for playing in game, and then use that currency to buy skins, as opposed to me asking you to swipe your credit card for a skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
Especially when
players.
it's not
Yeah.
complete.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is this the game we're looking at? This is
This is what we're working in right
or
now. It's we're still working on some things animation wise, and still working on jumping. It's kind of off a little bit. But it
but I
kind of
like the
reminds if
animation.
you play it, it reminds me of um how the actual SOCOM player jumps. So it's got that weird little jump, but it is modern. So
And that's what you're aiming for, though, to replicate SOCOM.
well, we're trying to get to an extent. Also trying to throw a little flavor in there too for other players. I mean, at the end of the day, we do want to give the players that SOCOM feel as best as we can. And that's a priority. And also try and there's some new types of game. I mean, yeah, suppression, demolition, and things like that are going to be in there, but um, I think you could
Something for the casual.
expand the game modes. I think other game modes are important too. That maybe people want to play TDM. Maybe people want to play. Why not give them TDM where they can do respawn, and then people that want to play suppression can go play suppression. You know.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Like, okay, the hardcore fans are gonna like it that are SOCOM fans, but what about newer fans who aren't used to the
Hmm.
die and wait to respawn and spectate for 5 minutes or however how much time that round takes to end.
Yeah, and I think you can target both player bases as long as you're smart about it. And this is one of the other main part that has all the maps and shit in it. But it if you can do it where you basically give the player base the ability to change the game how they want to play it. So maybe having some settings in there where you can go to legacy mode for the camera view, right? And you
Ah,
can
it's more
go to
Ghost
shoulder.
Recon now, right?
Yeah, and then if you don't want to have that, you can go. This one's we were working on this one, but this is just for map showcase. We were working on getting our maps in here and things.
Now, who builds these maps from scratch? You do it, or you have like a separate team for map building?
No, I build them.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so what I do, except for this one, this Frostfire map was piece by piece. We didn't have a at the time the process that I used to build the map. I didn't use it, and for I use a new process now with future maps. This was the first one that I did, so I had to go piece by piece, and I would have people come in that were SOCOM players, and they would say, "Well, this is too wide, or that's too wide," and I'd put down mannequins. I'd say, "Okay." We would run through videos of players running through the tunnels. We would say, "Well, how many players can fit through that tunnel, right?" And then we would put the mannequins down. We say, "Okay, maybe we can get 2 people through the tunnel, comfortably. Okay, so we need to make the tunnel wide enough for 2 people." Mm, and just going through that process, like, in iterations. So this map's been changed, it's about a 3-month it took about 3 months to make this map. 3 or 4 months just from changing so many things on it. Like, for example, the walls, like, they weren't these walls that you see for big box room or the box room, they weren't sheet metal. So what we did is we looked at video from like Confrontation and we were like, okay, Confrontation has sheet metal. It's a little throwback. It kind of brings that to life. And then you have this mist that's kind of like a dirt dusty mist that's floating around on the level when you're playing Confrontation. Okay, cool. We can put that in there. We can put the sheet metal in there. And then we look at SOCOM 1. SOCOM 1 doesn't have fences. SOCOM 1 has these these walls right here. Um, and we're like, okay, well, let's look at 2. We had the break in the fence over at 2, so okay, let's replicate that break in the fence. We'll do this, but we'll also come over here and we'll take this out. We'll start doing right now, and we'll remodel the center of the map to still give players cover, which also gives us a little throwback to an earlier SOCOM. Then we look at SOCOM 2. Okay, well now they have a helicopter. That's cool. Let's throw the helicopter in there. So people kind of have the best of both worlds when they're playing these maps. So we're trying
Uh,
to take the best parts of those maps that people remember
it's
and
that
mold
nostalgia.
and yeah, smash them together. So, mm,
That's what I like to hear. You sound really passionate about this project, which is
uh,
very good. I didn't even
it's a
remember there was a helicopter in the map. I was gonna ask you, is that helicopter drivable? I don't remember it being there because I played Frostfire for the first time on SOCOM One.
no, it's on 2. So the
Yeah, I know.
helicopter's here on 2. It wasn't there
That's why I
at the
don't
first one, right?
remember it. That's why I'm like,
So
wait, was it?
yeah, and then you have a spawn up here where sometimes players there was a SOCOM where players spawned on the helipad and they would come down from the helipad, the insurgents. So messing with spawns, opening that door up, giving the people the ability to move around the map they want to move, how they want to move. It opens up kind of new lanes for people to go down. You know what I mean? But still trying to stay original to the game
Are
at the
you gonna
same
have
time.
original maps for your game?
Yeah, we do want to do our own original maps. We do want to knock out and give people the how do you say it? We want to give people the maps they love from SOCOM. So Frostfire, Blizzard, Crossroads, Desert Glory. One guy wanted Shadow Falls, Inawape. Like, there's a few maps there that we could do. Mm, like Shadow
Sounds
Falls,
great.
very small map. Very simple. A lot of vegetation. You got some camo netting, some bridges, wooden bridges, and we're building that out right now. There's a lot you can
Specific
do with it.
confrontation maps or SOCOM 3 you mentioned?
Um, Remember working on Harvester too.
Ooh, the sniper map with the windmills, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
great.
Harvesters, it's getting there. We're waiting to figure out what we're doing with our buildings.
Now
How we're
this
gonna
map,
build those out.
I remember they had boats on there. Are you gonna have any drivable vehicles? Or you
Mm,
want to stick to SOCOM 2 gameplay, strictly run and gun, close counters, CQC?
mm-hmm. Yeah, we want to stick to players run around shooting each other. So we're gonna limit it like it wasn't into so they're not like it's not a 32-person map, 32 player map. So not 16 on 16, it's 88. So
Oh,
playing the shorter version, like the cutoff area is right here, basically. So you wouldn't be over here or
okay.
back here. So this is the only map that we could find for Harvester. So what we do is we import it on a landscape and we apply that map to that landscape, and then we run our players around and we try to get the best sizing possible that makes sense. And then we layer that over another landscape, and that's how we place our buildings. That's how we place our windmills. Um, for example, on here, our center building, we looked at other SOCOMs, the still spawn back here. There's just a lot to do, and
That
it's
looks great.
so we got to put our trees in here. There's quite a few things to do. So moving forward after the Frostfires, we were like, okay, what's an easier way to do this? Because we don't have much to go off of. We have videos that Razor Dak has provided us, and then we have these 2D maps, just like these images. So then we take those maps and we import those in, and that's what we use. I think I removed it from here because I got all the placing on it already. And this is Blizzard, so
Very familiar map.
yeah, we added some newer things like grass and trying to bring the map to life a little bit. Like, what would it look like 2024? New graphics, new engine.
Oh, is it the Unreal Engine 3? Or sorry, no, we're up to 6. What am I saying? 3 or
Yeah, we're using 5.
5? Yeah, sorry. 4 was H-Hour. We moved to 5 now. That's with the whole Matrix Tech demo.
Mhm.
Yeah, looks great. Are you gonna have it physically snowing in the map, or what are you?
Yeah, we'll throw the snow in there and get the snow back on the ground. We've applied the snow as a dynamic material to some of these meshes. So the snow will build up on the meshes as it's snowing, and then we have it set to where we're building out on the character too. And then the interaction, so when you run around the snow, it's tracking your footsteps on the snow. So
Sweet.
we want players to be able to be tracked in the snow, and then maybe some of that snow, if you're in the game long enough, that snow will start to, fill those holes. And if you get shot, the blood on the ground, blood splatter, and you can track players through blood splatter in the snow. So
Oh wow,
um, we're kind of trying to take more of a modern approach.
more
Um,
realistic approach too.
yeah, trying to bring back the tactical gameplay and give the players the ability to slow the gameplay down. Because if you look at a lot of the SOCOM, I've been hanging out in the confrontation Discord and just watching the way players play and understanding the game more and
Yeah,
taking their feedback into account.
they have community nights every week, each
Hmm.
game.
Yeah, so I go in there and I watch them play. They stream for me, and I see how they play. I see their movement speeds. I see how long it takes them to go from one point to another, and counting their steps. I'm taking notes, and I'm like, okay. And I ask them questions like, "Hey, if this was like this, like, would you like it or would you not like it?" And kind of probing the community for what they like and getting their feedback before they go do the test.
Yeah, now
Mm.
how do you decide with fans that are fans of SOCOM 1, 2, and 3, and even Confrontation? They're all similar, but they have their own different type of gameplay, type of shooting. How do you
Mhm.
merge all three together, and
Mm.
how do you make everyone like it, basically?
Oh, what you do is we kind of figured this is our approach to it is we give the players the ability to go into the settings and change the game, play that like on their game the way it was back in the day. So if they like old school SOCOM, we'll give you the ability to go change your crosshair color. We'll give you the ability to move the camera over the top of your head, or if you like the shoulder view, we'll give you the ability to switch that back to the shoulder, or you can go to legacy mode, go back over the head. So giving people the options to alter their game to where they can play in that original style or the more modern, because we just looked at every SOCOM. We said, okay, what was added in this SOCOM? What was added in this SOCOM? Okay, so let's add those as options.
Do you
So
think
it's like,
someone will be at a disadvantage if they choose like over the shoulder versus zoomed out where they can see
no,
around objects?
no, because we set the spring arm to the character at 200, um, with a 45-degree angle on them. So they're still getting the same field of view. All it is just moving that moving the crosshair to the right of the character.
Oh, and can you swap between right and left?
Yeah, so giving them the
No.
ability to move it to the right and then swap left and right. So shoulder swapping will be a setting option. So I mean, if you want to have shoulder swapping, fine. If you want to do leaning and shoulder swapping, fine. If you don't want either one, that's fine. Turn them off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, what'd you do about sprint and cover system, or
Mm.
strictly like SOCOM, no sprint, no cover system? What'd
Mm.
you decide? How did you decide that?
So for the running, confrontation has the option to where basically you, not an option, but it's a you push a button, you hit the shift button or whatever it may be to run or
L2
um.
back on PS3.
Mhm. Some players didn't like that because it changed their gameplay. It changed the speed of the game for them, right?
Yeah, but also when they were sprinting, they were risking getting shot because there would be a little
Mhm.
cooldown to get your gun back up.
Mhm.
So has that been
So
decided, or you
yeah,
guys?
so what we do is we don't do that. We take out that
Okay.
sprint to where people are getting tired and running. Just fucking let them run. You know what I mean? If they're gonna run, let them run. Um, all we do is we just give them the option to either um, go to the settings and say, "Well, I want to run without fucking hitting a button." Okay, you're good. Just hit this button. You can do that. Or you say,
Yeah.
"Well, I like the confrontation where I have to push a button to run." Okay, then fucking go to the settings and change it. So
Oh, okay. So you're allowing different options.
yeah, so just give the people the if you take all the SOCOMs and you just give them everything that was added in every iteration of SOCOM, uh, you take those small bits and pieces and then you add them as options in the settings, then you kind of just make everybody happy,
Now, what
which
about the people who are disappointed with SOCOM 4, like the cover system? Are you not even adding anything from SOCOM 4?
yeah, we're not doing a SOCOM 4. Nothing
Okay.
from SOCOM 4.
I think
So,
that's good news, though. No one's
yeah,
gonna hate on
from
that.
our, from our feedback,
If
everyone hates it, right?
if
So,
if I did want to give you feedback, I'd say SOCOM 4 had good co-op.
yeah, I think in the future, I think getting the multiplayer ironed out with the servers and things like that is our main priority, and giving the players what they want is the main priority. Because if we can get the players' feedback and really tighten the game up or get it as close to possible as making everybody happy, we get that some people aren't going to be happy, and we'll have to settle at some point with the changes that we make, and people are just going to have to settle basically.
Yeah,
And
in my
I
opinion, it
mean,
just can't be broken. As long as it works, people are gonna be happy. The haters are
yeah,
gonna be the guys that just don't like
hmm
anything dealing with SOCOM, and that's
yeah.
not the target audience.
Yeah, so right now we're kinda like, because we're talking about our grenade arc right now, and we have it set up to where basically, you can put the arc up and you can use your scroller mount like the scroll on your mouse to increase the distance, in which you wanna throw. But we also have a different setup to where it's, if you wanna throw it, you use your mouse, like, move your actual mouse up to increase your distance. So, for us, it's we're trying to debate, well, do we add that in as an option? Do we think it's better for players to use the scroll, or is it better for players to use the mouse? And um, that's a hard one. I think for things like that, like game mechanic wise, we're gonna have to wait. We'll have to put what we think is best in there at first, and then get the player feedback and see what they say. And if they don't like it, and we'll hold a poll. Um, say the poll split 50-50 down the middle or 40-60 down the middle. I mean, okay, then it needs to be an option as a setting, right?
Yeah,
Um, if it's overwhelming at a 20 to fucking 80%, take it out. And I think if you do that and you prioritize the community and their wants and needs, I think you can make everybody happy to an extent, right? There's always going to be somebody that's, oh, well, that board wasn't there, that sign wasn't there, you know what I
yeah.
mean? So, I mean,
Oh, there's a lot of
visually
complaints that comes out of the SOCOM community, and
yeah. Probably one of the hardest communities to please. I mean,
Yeah, the hardest for sure. Sony couldn't please.
yeah, I and that all goes back to players just the disconnect between companies and their player base. I think if you take it
True.
with a realistic approach where you can make everybody happy and give people a product, and put time and effort into a product, you can make people happy. It's doable.
I think you're going in the right direction. It's just
Mhm.
how do you get the newer audience to like your game? Because a lot of the casuals get turned off right away, which it kind of goes back to the same question I was asking people that don't like respawn. But if they ultimately see it's a SOCOM successor, they might think, oh, I should be turned off by this because I don't like waiting. I like to respawn. I like to
Well,
play league game matches
yeah.
like Counter Strike.
And I think with that is we give them the option to create the games that they want to create. So when it comes to creating your server, creating your matches, your lobbies, give them the ability to select what game mode or what type of game modes they want in rotation for their servers. So you can have a hardcore clans that go in. They want to make a server, right? And say, okay, they're old school guys, so they want to play breach, suppression, um, hostage extract, whatever it may be. Let them do it. That's what they want to play, and they want to have their own people come in and play, and they want to play to the old school rules. Let them play that way. If you have a new player base that comes in and younger kids and they want to play TDM, they want to play kill confirm, they want to do all the other shit, give them
Conquest,
the
you got the
yeah,
Battlefield third person.
yeah,
you,
let
you
them
have the
fucking
ability to
do it.
do that, yeah. You gotta
Yeah.
market it, I think, to some casuals, like have a nice trailer, a
Mhm.
nice advertisement. Yeah, this is a SOCOM successor, but hey, look, we got up to date game modes. We got respawn, we got conquest, we got kill confirmed, all that good stuff.
I think also a I wouldn't say selling point. We're not selling shit, but like a selling the visual quality of the game. If we can sell the visual quality of the game to newer players, like kids and things like that, because when kids get on, they play video games. 90% of them don't give a fuck if it's good or not. Does it look good? Does it play good? That's their main factor is, does it look good? And kids are going to be they're going to be drawn, like newer generations going to be drawn to more visuals in a video game and the game modes that they grew up playing, right? So what do? We give them the game modes they've been playing when they the new generation, we give them those game modes that they like, and then on top of that we give them the visuals, we give them photorealistic meshes, we give them you know just high quality, high fidelity DLSS settings. Like they can go in and do what they want to do and not have to worry about anything.
I see the grass moves, that interests me right there. Hey, the environment's there's weather. That's what that tells me. I know it might just be Unreal Engine itself, but I think the more you add within the environment helps as well. Like we were talking about weather effects, snow, rain, all that.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do, and that goes back to like really immersing the player, because we've been thinking about and throwing around the idea of like this is the Aurora, right? So we wanted to either to
How
have
about
free
swimming? I forgot to ask about that. Sorry to interrupt.
swimming. Yeah, we could do swimming. It's like I wouldn't say it's a
Seal. That's what Seals is mainly about, right? With the tactics, they go swimming.
yeah, and we could do that. It's actually really not that fucking hard. It's literally just, creating the, player state in there for the locomotion for the player to enter into swimming area, gets in the water and have that, animation montage play. Um, but we have the animations that comes pretty standard with Unreal Engine, and
Cool.
we can add those in there. Um,
Do you have any ideas to making a single player campaign in the
Probably
future? I know
in
you
the
said.
future, yeah, we do wanna do a campaign or a single player mode. Maybe I I get really irritated, and this may just be me, but when it comes to video games and playing single player mode, I want to play with my buddies, you know. And when I think of like an ODA or I think of like SEAL teams and things like that. I'm thinking of a four-man team, right? So I'm thinking, why not play the single player with four players, like four of your buddies, and you progress through the storyline together. So instead of you playing through the storyline, you get to share that experience with like three of your closest friends. You know what I mean? From back in the
Yeah,
day.
that's a
I
huge
think
selling
that's
point.
oh yeah, because I mean most people are so on and so forth,
Yeah,
but still give the people the ability to okay, well, what's his name's not here today. Okay, cool. We can run this mission with three of us. And then when he joins back in with us tomorrow, he can just pick up, where we are now, or we can go back and play that level again so he can get that experience. So not locking players out because they can't make it, because we understand that the SOCOM community, they're a bit older, and people have lives and people have kids, and taking that into account, uh, not holding that against them because they can't play that day or they can't play tomorrow
or
or
they can't play the whole campaign in one sit down.
Mhm. Yeah, they can't sit down and play 4 hours or 8 hours straight, you know?
Yeah,
So not holding that against them by still giving them the level progression that their current team is working through. I think that's important. So, I think that would have to be set up basically between, you know it's kinda like creating a clan, right? But I think we could go to a system of, instead of creating a clan, you create an ODA, and ODAs are teams for SF guys. So since we're going with the Special Operation Forces, for the Army, I think if you can create an ODA and you can have your own ODA, and that person who creates the ODA, that everybody plays off of his progression level, or it's shared between those four players. Um, so I think that's very unique too. I think a
for sure.
clan is cool and things like that, but I think we can change a lot of the naming conventions when it comes to clans. Maybe we don't name it clans. Maybe we name it, you know, operational detachments. You know what I mean? So immersing the player into like a different type of like substructure in the military that people aren't really familiar with, and kind of time to that, because clan systems, you know, the
Okay,
word is old,
so it's kind of
but
like
it
a
can be the same
faction
thing.
or a squad, sort of.
Yeah, an ODA consists of like your group of guys that are going out and you know doing their job, kicking doors and doing the Lord's work. So those little crews of people, what we could do is we could say during the single player campaign, we'll have four guys running around. Like that'll be your buddy going through the campaign. I mean, we're talking future. This is going to take years to do that,
Yeah, I mean
but
you're on the right path. Like look at
yeah,
Helldivers 2. It's a co-op game. You enter the same planets with different types of enemies, and look
it's the
how
same thing.
successful. Yeah,
I haven't seen Helldivers. I've seen a lot of people playing it. It looks good. But yeah, kind of I guess along the same time, I just actually saw my buddy playing it about 10 minutes ago, and there was like four of them running around and working together.
oh yeah, the servers are a
Um,
mess though. Trying to get on that thing, they've been trying to fix it for over 2 weeks now.
yeah, well, I mean, their influx of players are like they probably weren't expecting that many
Yup.
people or the game to be like that, because I think there's a market for third person, and I think a lot of companies don't really see it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And they still don't see it with PvP. They're doing strictly
Hmm.
co-op. So there's a big
Yeah.
market for PvP. There's co-op. I mean, look at like I hate to say Fortnite, how successful it is. And it's a
Hmm.
battle royale game in third person. Like how hasn't more people capitalized on that without directly copying it? Everyone just tries to directly copy it, and that's why they're not
Yeah.
successful.
And that's no, it's I agree with you. If you look at Call of Duty, I want to say about a year ago, 2 years ago, they had the third person option, and people were flooding to the game. Could you imagine if Call of Duty a year or two ago had said, "Hey, we have third person, and you can create your own private local lobbies and invite your friends, and you have suppression game mode." Could
That
you imagine what would have happened?
They were gonna do it back in 2010 or 11. They had Sledgehammer working strictly on it when they were a 3-man team, but it
Hmm.
got canceled. It was gonna be strictly third person only, a Call of Duty game.
Yeah, it would have been amazing. All they had to do is go in there, "Hey, we'll put a new game mode in. Set your weapon presets, do what you wanna do," and, you know and that's something we're gonna end up doing too, when we kinda migrate over to a new template that we're gonna move into. We will be having where people can go in and set their say they wanna run the, um, SCAR, right? And they like a certain setup, or they want a shotgun, and they wanna do a
You're
certain
gonna be
setup.
able to customize your weapons,
Yeah, so,
scopes, and
like
all that. No,
yeah. So we want people to be able to go in and set their presets on their weapons and their loadouts, kind of like you would in Call of Duty, and add a suppressor and then save that loadout. So when you go into the game, you're like, nah, I'm not really working on this loadout. Let me go to loadout two, or let me go to this loadout, and just switch your loadouts in game instead of sitting in there and say you die like you do in the old SOCOM, and you have to switch and say, okay, I need this weapon now. I need this suppressor. And I need that. You can, it's a little forward thinking and streamlined. So taking that approach and having like a 3D model basically where you can rotate the weapon and see what you're putting on it and the accuracy, the damage, how much it's going to help you, what it's not going to help you with. Yeah, so we're actually we're pretty close to getting that done too. That probably won't be in the play test that we're going to be doing this weekend, but right now this weekend our main goal is hopefully by Sunday we can what we're going to do is we're going to package up our server clan system and work the back end, and we're going to have the play testers and things like that go in and create their accounts and log in and send party invites to each other and start looking for problems basically, and make sure that the profiles are being saved, the characters or the players can team up and join each other. That's our main priority is the social part. While we're doing that, uh the lead guy that's doing all that, he's gonna be working that this weekend, and then I'm gonna be working on our grenade arc throw, going through and working on some animations.
you know you can always call me to test. Just let me know the date. I'll set it, and I'll
Yeah,
be
yeah,
there.
yeah. We can and we can get you. I think you're in the private test.
Yeah,
I don't.
in the
Are
Discord.
you
Yeah.
the private test Discord? Yeah, and
Yeah.
then we're gonna send out a message probably Friday, and we'll have people download the project once we package it up for logging in, creating a log in with your name, your password, and make sure the servers are reading and making sure it's tracking your rank. Those things are very important because we have to make sure all that works. We can't just throw it in here and then give you the game and then let you
Yeah.
go. We have it's bits and pieces that need to be put together,
You
and
gotta make
it's
sure people are there to test
mhm,
too, not to just get a free gameplay here and then come
yeah,
back each time to play.
yeah. It's
I
not just gameplay. We're trying to test UI. We're trying to
Yeah.
test menus, accounts.
Now there's
Trying to
there's
take
a
our
big
time on it.
there's a big concern. There's been a lot of successors out there, and a lot of people that come to the next successor, any game it is, they always look, okay, they're using Unreal Engine. Is this another asset flip? These guys didn't do any coding. They just bought a bunch of templates. Can you clear the air and tell people that, hey, we're here. We're using real coding language. We're using real artists here. What's the deal? I want you to tell that story.
Mm, so basically, what we're doing is it's easier for us to start out on a template because we juggled around the idea and we said, well, do we start from scratch? We could start from scratch. And then we were thinking, well, how long is it going to take us if we start from scratch? How long is it going to take us to get to integrating the menu into a scratch project and implementing, everything we've done so far? So when we're talking about like weapon customization, things like that, if the system's already in place and you're talking enums and um, your databases, they're already there. So why not use them? You know what I mean? It's kind of like
Yeah, like you're purchasing ladder climbing, for example, instead of coding it. I understand that, but
and that's the misconception. People think that we just buy. Okay.
That's what I mean. How do you convince them that you didn't just buy something and you're trying to do an asset flip? Because I know there's a popular YouTuber out there. He plays SOCOM Successors. He's like, oh, they use this from this marketplace. They took this from this
Mhm.
marketplace item, and
No,
he kind of
I
rails
get
them.
well, here's my thing, I get where he's coming from because and what he's saying is he's not wrong. People do go in and they buy maps from the marketplace. When I first started concepting the game and it blew up, I didn't want that to happen, because we just threw some maps in there that were from the marketplace. We didn't really change much on it. Threw some weapons in there, some effects. We were going through, trying to concept and see if it was doable, if it was possible, like what the workload would be to do it. The game blew up, and we're like, "Okay, we gotta shut this down." So getting out of hand. Mm,
Where all the hate comes, right?
yeah.
But honestly,
Let's
I didn't see much hate at all. The Discord was flooded with fans, and it looked like everyone believed in the project. It's just
mhm.
they want to see more of it.
That's the problem because you get an influx of players like, "We want updates, updates, updates," and it's
Oh,
like,
that's
guys,
true.
these things take process, and you wonder why games and gaming companies take years to build projects and they don't tell people about it. It's because as a consumer in America, all we do is we want, 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 and we don't take time to appreciate the longer that people take to work on something, the more ironed out and the better it's going to be. For example, you look at Call of Duty, they push one out every year, and all they're doing is they're taking the same maps that were built back in Call of Duty 2 and the same layouts, and they're just flipping them on their head and putting modern buildings in them. I mean, if realistic, if we're being honest. So,
They don't update the engine until like 6 years later.
mhm. So, yeah, going back to that, I mean, yeah, we buy things off the marketplace, but we're not going in and taking maps directly from the marketplace and dropping them into this project. We're taking bits and pieces of models that we need, and then we are either using the 3D modeling tool to cut the parts that we need or the things that we need, and we're piecing together these maps piece by piece, such as Frostfire. It's been cut together piece by piece. Like, um, if I go down here, you see how this oil tanker is actually we cut it in multiple places, and because we just wanted this part, right? That's all one mesh, but people don't need to know that. So we just dropped it. We said, "Okay, that's fine. We don't need the other part." So we'll just cut off. We'll just take the top part that we need. We'll cut off this top part right here so that thing's showing.
Okay. Now, something separate besides maps, like the hit detection. How do you tweak that? Do you do it through code? Do you do it through Unreal Engine?
Yeah. So when it comes to weapon recoil and movement and things like that, weapon spread and recoil, all that's done through blueprinting. Um,
Every
so
weapon's different, right? It's
yeah,
not.
every weapon has its own damage model. Um, and then every weapon's gonna have its own weapon spread and its own recoil. Uh, at the end of the day, it's not just, for example, I can't just go buy a ladder climbing animations on the marketplace and then say, "Hey, cool, I bought it. It's in the game." Like I have to do work to get it into the game.
You still have to tweak it, code it, implement.
Well, yeah, you have to go in. Yeah, like when you're doing the animations, like for example, if I wanted to do prone, I have to go in and I have to buy the animation sequences that I need for that, and then I have to go in and tweak. Sometimes I have to go in and tweak the bones for the character and create a new pose asset or pose outs output. Basically, create a new animation out of the animation that's there, where the hands are correctly on the weapon and things like that, or they line up better, and then I have to use that animation. So I have to create blend spaces between those, and it gets to be a lot. But we're it's not we can't just go in and buy all these animations and not, just kinda throw them in there. That's not how it works. Like, there's a whole there's a whole process that goes with it, and people don't understand that because people don't aren't familiar with the engine. Mm,
That's
'Cause I can
true. They
go in
think
and
you
I
can
can
just
say, yeah.
buy and use it right away.
Mhm. And you can ask people that have taken that advice from those people, you know? they probably loaded up Unreal Engine. They probably bought a project that's already created or a template, and they started up and they're like, "Boom, I'm done. I made a game." Well, no, there's a lot more that goes into it. Yeah, I don't know, maybe implementing or putting characters into the game and changing the skeleton on the characters. And then, well, maybe these meshes are all tied together. Okay, we got to export these meshes, such as the helmet and some of the things that are on the rig, and we have to break apart these meshes in Blender and then re-import them. Mm,
That's
there's a
why they
whole
get
process.
called asset flips when they just buy it and then go try to
Mhm.
sell it.
Mhm. Yeah, I want to say not. I want to say like last year, 2 years ago, there was a guy that bought the multiplayer template that we're using, didn't do anything to it, packaged it, and put it on Steam. And Steam was like, "Yeah, you're good." But Steam, and I think Steam at the end of the day, they really need to figure out like what their policy is for games. Because if you allow people to just go in and keep releasing games in a beta state, it's just that's going to be the end all be all. But
Yeah, and they
I
flood
mean,
it. They should be
mhm,
required to update at least each year that, hey, okay, we're getting closer to release. Give us your next expected release date, because there's people
mhm,
that release in early access stay on there for 4 years, even though they promise 1 year in the description. Like, Steam should
mhm.
be on them. Should be like, hey, is this still here? I think in the future, when they want to get rid of all these saturated games, they're gonna do something to filter them out.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I've actually been working with a guy. So when it came to me building maps, I kind of get a lot of my inspiration. I've been working with a guy on a separate thing that we're kind of doing as a hobby, for a game that we played a long time ago when we were kids. He works at Sony, and he was the lead developer for the lead level designer for Rise, and well, he did level design for Rise of Rome and some Far Cry 6 level design, and what was another one he did? Hunt Showdown. He's the lead level designer for Hunt Showdown.
Wow, I still play that till today.
It's a great game. And so me and him, we have our own little private Discord, me and him in it, and we work on our own little project. And I learn a lot of how to say it. I learn a lot of like techniques that he shows me that he uses when he's building maps and his thought process behind maps and why you're doing what you're doing when you're building these maps. It's really diving into like little bits and pieces that bring the map to life. Like, for example, when we were looking at Frostfire, we were like, okay, it's just Frostfire. But what about Frostfire? Like, where is it, in the world? What type of weather's there? What type of things that would you see there? And we were like, okay, well, it's actually off the coast of Alaska.
Oh, looking into the lore, huh?
Look into the lore of the
That's
game and
very
finding out.
important. A lot of people play, even though they're multiplayer games, they look into the characters. What's his character's name? What does he do? What's his background story? So I
Mm-hmm.
think you're coming up with a good point that no one really ever tackles in a multiplayer
Mm-hmm.
that's trying to be a successor or
Yeah, we take a
indie
different
project.
approach to map building. So, like for Frostfire, we're like, okay, it's in Alaska. What's in Alaska? Northern Lights are in Alaska, dude. Snows in Alaska sometimes. So maybe we might do some snow here. Maybe we might not do some snow here. Because when you play the single player Frostfire mission, it's in the snow. People don't remember that. I had to go buy the SOCOM, all the SOCOM games. I had to go to the store, which is this tech store in Colorado Springs. I had to go to. I went in there. They didn't have any PlayStation 2s available. I had to go to Facebook Marketplace to buy a PlayStation 2 Slim with a memory card, and I had to go buy all the SOCOMs, and I played through all the SOCOMs, and I played the levels, and I read the missions, like, "This mission takes place here."
Did not
Um,
remember that. I still
if you
have
look at
them too.
Fish Hook's in Algeria, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
didn't know that.
looking at it, we're like, "Okay, this place is in Algeria. What does Algeria look like?" So we start pulling up photos. Oh, so this is what Algeria looks like. These are the buildings that this is the concrete they have. This is the stone that they use on the ground.
Well,
Those types of
that's what they
things.
used to do to build maps way back. They used to visit the location in real life and
Mhm.
then scope it out, take pictures, come back, and start developing maps.
Yeah, we don't
So
have that luxury, but
yeah,
that's so
obviously
we're using the internet and videos and things like
you need a
that, and
big publishing team to
yeah.
back it. You never know.
So,
If you're getting up
well,
there.
we had 6-foot games, or Bigfoot Games, one of those names. They have some space game on Steam, but they reached out. The CEO called me when the game first blew up, and he was like, "What's your goals? Like, what do you want to do with the project?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to do anything. I think right now where we're at, I told him I was like, we're just building off a template and we're concepting a game right now for what we want to do. Um, and it's nowhere near a state to where we can present it to you or anybody. And at the end of the day, I mean, we ended up shutting the Discord down, left what version of the game was on Steam, and we'll update it when we get to that point. But I told him, like, hey, I sent him a copy. He was like, okay, well, let me get a copy of it. So I sent him a copy. And he said, okay, he said, we're gonna take your game out to Pack West and we're gonna talk about it. I said, okay, that's cool. And he said, well, if you need anything, like in the future, if you feel like you're in a spot where the game is, in a better state, and you want to showcase it to us, we're down in Houston. He said, go ahead, come down to Houston. We'll set up a meeting. We'll bring the game down because we have a full development team that we could allocate towards it, and obviously go through like some business stuff. And I was like, well, we'll think about it because at the end of the day, we want the game to be free.
Okay, yeah, and you won't get that freedom maybe with a big publisher that buys you
Hmm.
out and then puts restrictions on you or expects a deadline.
Yeah. So when it comes to the community, there's a lot of things that we've sacrificed kind of behind closed doors, um, just because we prefer to choose the community and the needs of the community over personal gain. And I think if we kind of stay true to that and we just create a free product that's really good looking, we can try to mimic the mechanics of the game as best possible and give people the ability to do what they want to do. I think we can make people happy. So,
And I think at that point they would donate
mm,
at the I don't know, best case if you're trying to be free and obviously you need the servers up, not even donate, maybe buy a server, support the game somehow to keep it
mhm.
running.
Yeah, and I think we talked about people buying their own servers and things like that. Yeah, possibly. I mean, but for us, like right now, that's not. It is something to think about, but it's not a priority in our eyes right now. A priority in our eyes is getting the game to where it's functional and people can enjoy it and it's not buggy and people are having a good time. Because I grew up in a time where I grew up on, playing in a Windows, and
Oh,
um
We're in an interview.
shit, my bad.
so for me it was like I grew up on Medal of Honor Allied Assault. I grew up playing Battlefield 1942 and just logging into the game and enjoying the game for what it was and talking to people. We didn't have voice chat at the time back then. Like I was typing over Diablo 2, I was trying to trade and pull up my type window, and yeah, I learned social actions through that. I think that nostalgia of being able to bring that's more important than people going out and making money. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, you're creating your vision for people to enjoy.
mhm. I want to create something beautiful for a community that has been kind of screwed over the years and kind
More
of
than
give
enough times, man,
more than enough, right?
and no
And
one's nailing it. Either
mhm,
they're creating ways to get paid and then abandoning.
mhm. Because me at first, dude, when I wanted to start this project, dude, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I was like, dude, I want to remake Ghost Recon. I remember playing Ghost Recon as a kid, dude. Rainbow Six on PlayStation One,
Well, those
Medal of
games are
Honor.
still active, and they're actually making a new Ghost Recon.
Mhm. I'm talking old school first person,
Oh
just the
yeah, where it
fucking,
was just the
you
aimer.
know, just the aimer, dude. Just the aimer. I love that.
Same here.
That
I
brings
played
me
it to
back.
death.
Mm.
So when can you expect to release this? At least in early access. Is there a set date or at least like an estimate of how long you think this will take?
This weekend we're gonna try and do the private test obviously for the servers, and then hopefully the following week, I want to get it to a state to where people can run around. Obviously, the menus and things like that aren't going to be good to go, but I want people to run around the maps, and it's really strictly just for because our characters that we have right now are the AAA soldiers from the marketplace, and I don't want to use those at all. But it's
Well,
the best we have right now. We want to use characters from the 3DMA store.
yeah, that reminds me. I remember one time you were asking about light, medium, heavy armor. Are you gonna implement that from confrontation, where you can take more hits based on the armor you use, and then you're slower if you're using heavy armor?
To an extent, we've talked about it, but I think that goes back to giving people the option when they create their own servers. So, if say you create a server and you want to play Legacy, I think we'll probably end up calling it Legacy without the armors. Um, where you can still wear the armors, they just won't negatively, affect your character.
Or
So you can
positive?
have the yeah, or positively. You'll just have the cosmetic basically. I
Okay.
think giving people the option to do that that's the way to go with that. But kind of taking that approach, and then say they do want to do that, they can have the armor that slows them down.
Oh, nice.
And
So you forecast maybe a month in testing phase and maybe a year out for official release or early access?
I would say early access probably like a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Okay.
And just because I personally want to take my time and make sure it may be before that. We don't know. I don't like putting dates on things. Because me and everybody else on the team, we prefer. I know everyone on the team prefers to take our time to make sure we're checking every single box on the checklist. And once we get something done, we check it off. We move on to the next thing, and then we test that thing. And if it breaks a thing before that, we go back to the drawing board, and then we start fixing something else. Which
Nice.
is
So
a
when
lot
it's
of that's in the
ready.
blueprints. Yeah, because at the end of the day, for example, right now we have a clipping issue. Like if you get close to a weapon, not saying it's an issue. We just haven't built out the blueprint to raise the weapon. When you get close to a wall or something like that, we want the weapon to go up in the air. So as you know, and then you have to back away from that wall for the weapon to come down.
Yeah.
We haven't done that yet. And it probably won't be in the private testing for in 2 weeks, but because we really for this test we want to test the clan ability for people to join each other and play. And then on another note, we want to have people run around on the maps so they can get a feel for the maps and then tell us, hey, is the character speed? Is it too fast? Is it too slow? Are the map sized correctly? Does it feel right? What doesn't feel wrong about it? And then go back and change the things from the feedback that we get. And I'm one of the guys that like I've had people in the Discord. They'll they'll be watching it. I'll be running around. They'll be like, hey, it doesn't feel right. That's in the wrong spot. I'm like, hey, no worries. I stop in the editor. I go change it. I fix it. And they're like, okay, that's much better. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
on the spot corrections, like fixing things as we go. Mm,
Nice. Does it ever get tiring? Like you're exhausted or overloaded?
well, everyone on the team has day jobs. Like we have our own careers.
Yeah.
I'm at Goodfellow Air Force Base. That's where I teach at, and
Nice.
so I work. I'm telling you, man, I work all day long. I come home. I got a wedding coming up next month, and so between on my personal life, like I try to put as much time in as possible, and other people have other obligations. We have people on the team that work at Intel, and they work night shifts at Intel. And then we have guys that they have kids, and they have their own lives. So whatever work they can get in at the time, we try to maximize that. Or we hold like a weekly meeting, and we say, hey, everybody kind of brings together what they've been working on and how far they've gotten on things, and we try to help each other out once a week.
Work and family always getting in the way. I'm in the same boat. Like I got my
Yeah.
engineering job, and then I come home, I program my game, and then I sometimes it's the kids before that and the family. So you barely get some time to work on it. So I know the feeling. Now, is that a state you want to get to one day? Is where if this thing takes off, and let's say throw a number out there in the millions. Would you like to prioritize this as your main job in the future, or
I
you?
retire in 6 years.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
be 38 when I retire. So I'm not really worried about that. We did open up an LLC for the gaming company, with me and my buddy and his wife. Me and him served in the army together, and so kind of like close knit family. Um, but I think if we ever did get to that point, I would take it. I would like to take a lot of if I got my cut or the share or whatever happens. Like I don't care if I get paid or not. But if say I did, I would take a lot of that money, and I think I would probably donate that to like probably like suicide awareness for the military or something along those lines, or disabled veterans. You know what I mean? Because I've worked with a lot of those guys, and it's kind of like
Thanks for your service.
appreciate it. But I think we can
Yeah.
change the perception of a lot of people if we do it right and we take our time
You
and we
know,
don't rush the project.
I was recently playing a Silent Hill game that kept popping that up, suicide awareness. So I didn't. I'm like, why is this in a Silent Hill game? Why it doesn't belong here? What's this mean? What's this? So now that
Yeah.
you're telling me about it, it sounds like it's a really important point, and it needs to be. Well, they weren't strictly on the military mentioning that, but they were just mentioning it in general. People who need help, and I guess it's a good thing. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I appreciate it. It's just I don't know. I think there's a lot of good things that could be done in this world, and I don't think a lot of us do that. Some people are out for personal gains, other people are not. Um, and I see things for how they are, in people, and I'm not really one to hold a grudge. I just, if things happen and things don't work out between people, I'm just like whatever, it is what it is. Like I'm not gonna waste my energy being mad at people or caring about projects that, didn't take off. Or one thing I don't like is when you have people that come through and they basically milk a community and, you know,
Yeah. Take advantage of what people like
you're
and
taking
profit off
advantage
of
of a
it.
player base of people that, you're getting their hopes up. Like, and I see it from a point of I'm a Medal of Honor Allied Assault kind of guy.
That's one
I
of my
love
favorite games. I love the campaign. I didn't play it. I don't know. Did it have online? I don't think I was too young back
yes,
then.
yeah, yeah, it had online.
Okay.
Um
I didn't start
and
playing online, I think, till Call of Duty Classic and Halo
yeah,
1.
yeah, Call of Duty 1 on PC. Uh
Yeah, that was my
yeah,
favorite.
that's dude. And that's the same thing as the Medal of Honor Allied. If the Medal of Honor Allied Assault community was as big as the SOCOM community, and somebody came through and said, "Hey, we're gonna revamp this game, do the Kickstarter, blah 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 blah,"
First person.
and if I spent my hard-earned money on that, on a project like that, and it didn't come to fruition, and it was just kind of crickets and fell apart, I would feel some type of way, dude.
Yeah, they
I'd be
they
pissed.
tried. They tried twice to reboot it. And it was based on
Allied?
the real stories, how they're undercover in Afghanistan with with the beards and dressed as
Yeah, I
Afghan.
think the problem with Medal of Honor is they went too modern. They should have stuck to the roots and kept it people
World
played
War
Medal of Honor
Two.
for what it was, World War II, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that cover in World War II that a lot of gaming companies don't really cover. And Medal of Honor kind of hit the sweet spot for a lot of them. Like if you're talking about Southwest or Southeast Asia and the battles that happened there, and talking about Singapore and stuff like that. Medal of Honor kind of touched on that with Rising Sun and PlayStation 2. But you don't really see a lot of companies go towards that. You see a lot of companies go towards major battles like Iwo Jima or, D-Day and things like that, but they don't really dive down to like the personal connections between the player and the actual person playing the game. And,
Yeah, I remember I
you know,
played on GameCube, Medal of Honor
yeah,
Rising Sun. It was called.
yeah,
Yeah,
Rising Sun, you're in Pearl Harbor, and you're on the boat, like you're shooting down the planes that are coming through, you're on the boat, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's a great game, dude. It's an all-time classic,
yeah. Back then
and
it was Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, and Battlefield. Battlefield always went I felt like the Vietnam route,
Battlefield
and
ended up
then
coming out with it was Battlefield 1942. They went to European Battlefield Europe or something like that, and then they went to Secret Weapons of World War II, which had, like, the little jet in it, a couple, new vehicles, and, then they went to Battlefield Vietnam, which I loved Battlefield Vietnam because you could take your own music and you could drop it in the game
I
folder on the
remember
helicopter and you
that.
could push play. You remember that? Yeah.
Yep, I used to do it too. That's a funny thing.
Yeah.
I used to have that song,
The
"Turn Me
CCR
On"
for
there. I know it's
oh,
weird,
oh.
but I drive around. You turn me on. You turn. I
And
forgot
people
who
could
that's.
hear it in the chopper. It was cool, dude.
Yeah,
And that was peak gaming, dude. For me, that was peak gaming. You
I
can't
agree.
you can't beat it.
I agree.
Diablo 2, man. The sprites, those graphics they had, that's peak gaming, dude. You can't beat it. And it brings me back
Yeah,
to a lot of like childhood memories, playing games with my brothers and stuff like that. And I I kind of want to try to bring that back to people and kind of like remind people of like what gaming used to be and what it's capable of doing, you know?
yeah, but like you mentioned, those custom soundtracks. I remember playing SOCOM on PS2, wishing I could pop up a playlist while I'm just gunning people
Mhm.
down, and only 360 could do that a few years later,
Yeah, well, I
and that's
think
where I
if you
jumped
had
on
a
that.
folder, dude, somewhere, say you're in Unreal Engine and you built out like a say you blueprinted in the blueprint that says, "Hey, pull from this folder and play display the songs um on the UI or whatever on the menu." It's basically what they did. Well, they didn't use Unreal Engine, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think it's harder nowadays because you gotta license music unless I don't know how
Yeah.
that would work actually. If you could hear
Yeah.
someone else, maybe you do proximity chat and then you
Yeah.
hear their songs, but then again, those people that are streaming and oh, that's another way you're gonna get people to play your game and make it popular. If you get some of those streamers or if you have funny events that occur in
Mhm.
game, a lot of
Yeah,
it's gonna get popular.
we've been talking to a few people, like, we have promoters that are ready to, push the game and promote the game, and they're really excited to play it too. Um,
Cool.
yeah, so we're not worried about that front. When it comes to marketing and stuff, we wanna get the game in as many people's, hands as possible. Um, it's just it's a process, and we have to have things in place before we do that. Because you saw, like, the project, right? When it was, like, the concept, it was client to client on Steam. People would join some people could join games, other people's couldn't. I mean, it
Yeah.
was still there. Like, people could play with each other. They had to think outside the box a little bit and, like, teaming up on Steam or joining games on Steam with their friends, but that's a lost art, so you kinda have to streamline it a little better.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like if people join, they see the lobbies are empty, they're just gonna quit the game.
Yep.
Versus like maybe you do a matchmaking system, they click it, another person clicks it, and then they find each other in the same lobby. They see someone's on. I think that will help definitely streamline it. Or they search, and if they're the only one, it creates the game and tells them maybe please wait, and then makes other people join in.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not wrong to have both options, but that's what I remember with From Within when it first launched. A lot of people were loading it up and they were posting on your Discord, "Hey, is anyone on? I see 0 people on, so I just went off for now." And then
Yeah.
night comes, everyone gets on, and then more people played during that time.
Yeah, because and that's another thing of having, like, dedicated servers, where you have servers that are running for the people that wanna play and that are not at work, and have people creating their own lobbies. So, you kinda have to that's a hard game to balance, but I know if you have servers up and for me, if I get on a game that's free to play and I go to the server thing and I see no one on, I'm gonna turn it off, and
Yep.
it'll kill a game. It will kill a game instantly. If the numbers aren't reflecting correctly and the servers aren't true servers or true server like, actual dedicated servers,
Yeah,
there's a
that's
lot of
important.
smart people out there. They're not dumb. They're gonna be able to figure it out. So, if you're gonna do it right, and then, do it the way it's supposed to be done.
True.
So, it's really I don't know, man. There's a lot to it. but I think if you do it right and you take your time with it, you can do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely you're in the right direction, in my opinion, and just yeah, keep going with it.
Yeah.
Your fans will come.
Yeah, people play. If they wanna play it, they can play. If they don't wanna play it, that's fine, it doesn't bother me. At the end of the day, I'm already
Intentions are
accepting and
good, so
yeah. At the end of the day, we already know, like, we're gonna have people post negative reviews, we're gonna have people post positive, and that's fine. If people have a negative view about things that they don't like, that's fine, we'll go fix it. Like, we'll take those into account. We're not gonna shut people out because of their opinions. Like, we live in America. People are entitled to their opinions, and they're entitled to their views of how they see or how they want a game that's a remaster or whatever it may be or an esque type of game done.
we all have the freedom of speech. Like you should
Yeah.
never kick someone out because of that, and then
Yeah, I'm not gonna
disallow
cancel
them from
people,
playing.
you know?
Or if they play a different game that you might not like, hey, what are you doing in here? You're not allowed to come. You
Yeah,
know,
I think if people wanna play this game, that's fine. If they wanna go play P53, so be it. If you wanna go play Task Force, so be it. I don't give a shit. You can go play Battlefield, Call of Duty. It's not my job to wake up every day and get on the computer and say and go through a player list in the Discord and say, "Oh, this guy's playing that. Oh, he's playing Tarkov." You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a fuck.
yeah,
Like,
who has
if you're
time to do
happy,
all that?
dude, you're happy. You
True.
know, if you wanna play, play. If you don't wanna play, don't play. It's fine. It's at the end of the day, honest feedback and criticism. I prefer criticism. And being in the military, I'm a very direct person, and I like feedback. I think your greatest teacher in life is failure. So if you're failing at something, obviously you need to fix it. And just don't get so self-centered, don't get so hard-headed about things, and just be very open-minded and take a realistic approach to taking people's, you know, views into account. It's not always about you or your vision. Sometimes people have better ideas and that's okay. Just do it,
Or you
you
might
know?
not see it. Like I've had 6 testers play my game, and then there's things they point out that I would have never thought of. Because you
Absolutely.
get used to playing your game the same way, and then they come in and play it totally different. You're like, wait, I didn't expect them to do that. Or they're
Mhm.
like, oh man, it's too difficult. I'm like, no man, you're just not really good at it. And then someone else plays it, and they complain about the same thing. Yo, I'm getting frustrated on this level. Can you change it up or something? And then you gotta
Absolutely.
come down the ground, not be upset about it, and realize, yo, you want people playing this game.
Yeah, you gotta be
Patch it.
humble, dude.
Yeah, true.
And I'm telling you right now, lighting, dude, when it comes to lighting and things like that, like, I'll reach out to people. I have a guy named Lazy Titan, he does a really good work. He's like a professional lighting artist for, like, cinematic videos and things, and I'll have him come in, and he'll take a look at a map, and he'll say, "Hey, you need to lift those shadows, they're too dark." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm like, "Hey, give me a crash course or, teach me about lighting." And he'll sit down and teach me about it, and I'm just like taking all this information. I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then we'll go through the editor together and I'll show him what I'm capable of doing, like what sliders do what, and then we'll do it that way. And just, taking people that have actual experience doing these things and their input and applying it to these levels. Like Blaze, Blaze? Blaze 4K?
Yeah, he's a popular streamer too. I remember
Yeah,
playing with him in
yeah, I'll have
Peak.
him. Dude, he's been with me since day one. Ride or die.
Good
Good
guy.
dude, great guy.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm telling you, he'll come in and he'll be like, "Hey, man, I don't know about that color," or "I don't know about that." You know what I mean? And this Frostfire, if we're gonna be completely honest, this Frostfire is a lot of his input, like a good 90, I would say a good 85% of his input between him, Aries, um, Lazy Titan. I know Dougie kind of helped out with it. There's a few other people. I mean, I may not get all the names, but those guys have been like they'll come through these maps and they'll look at it, it's like, I don't know about that. And I'll be like, okay, cool, let's change it. I was like, does this look better? It's like, yeah, that's a lot better. And they'll just pick it apart. And I'm like, pick it apart, dude. Pick it apart piece by piece, and we'll figure out what needs to be where. And dude, I'm telling you, those guys are good people, and they just want the best for the community too.
That's good.
But I
I was
I try
playing.
to be.
I
What? Go
was.
ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I was playing
No, you're
HR
good.
the other day. Now I'm not here to accuse anyone. But there was a guy in there. I'm not gonna name him. Maybe I could tell you off stream. He was telling me that area's guy does use cheats, and he's
No,
admitted
dude,
to him.
he
So
doesn't.
I'm not
And
here.
I
I'm not
thought,
accusing him. I'm like, how do you know this? He's like, yo, he's admitted to me. We played on the same team. He's told me the program name. I'm like, okay. So I'm just telling you,
No,
if you know for sure.
me and Aries, like we go back, and I'm not gonna lie, dude. When I first played him, I thought I was good at shooters, and I was like, all right, we'll transition over to third person, and I played against him, and at first, when I first played him, I was like, "There's no fucking way." He's just a really good fucking gamer, dude. He's, like, top
Yeah, I
notch.
played against him. He's good. I never
He's
accused
a
him for
he's
cheat.
just he's just a good fucking player, and I said that
Good.
too. I told fucking Blaze one day, me and Blaze were playing, and I was like I didn't know Aries at the time, and I was like, "This motherfucker's cheating, dude. There's no fucking way." He's like, "No, he's not." So, we went through it, and as I got better at the game, because 'cause I'm more like I've been playing shooters my whole life. As I started to transition to understand the third person gameplay, I was killing him. I was like, "Okay, I see now how that could see," you know what I mean? And I think it's a lack of skill. That's all it is, you
I
know what I mean?
noticed
Like,
that like I saw him jump shooting and getting instant headshots in H-hours, so I started doing it and it worked.
he's yeah, he thinks outside the box when he's playing and doing things that most people don't think about. He's just a good fucking player, dude. That's like if
Good to
you were
clear
to
it.
play him in SOCOM, it's like playing fucking, who's that really good player, in PUBG that back in the day? What's his name? He was a big famous streamer. PUBG player, probably
Oh,
one of the best shooters, considered one of the best shooter players. He played a lot with Doctor Disrespect back in the day too. Um,
I didn't watch much of PUBG. I did play that game about 60 hours, and that was it for me. It was
yeah.
good,
Well,
but I
I
didn't
forget the
watch
guy's
much.
name. He's really good, but you put him in the game with Ari fucking shit on
Does
him.
it start with an S, by the way, maybe?
For what? Which one?
For PUBG? Shroud or something? Or the Shroud?
Shroud, that's his
Yeah,
name. Yeah, Shroud. I
okay,
think
yeah.
yeah, if you put Shroud, dude, I would compare Ares' gameplay to like he's at like a Shroud level, you know what I mean? Like he's just really fucking good. And he's a competitive player, so like people that are running around playing H hour that are just kind of casually playing, Ares doesn't casually play. Like he'll fuck you up. And he does that. Like he just that's just how he is. He's a competitive player. He's a good player.
And that's what you need for from
It made
within.
me better playing him, playing against them and like learning how he plays. He was teaching me how he, does things. I just instantly got better. Like, and then I was killing him, and it was great overall. He's just a
Does he
good guy.
stream? I wasn't aware if he
Yeah,
does
I
or.
think he's on Kickstarter.
Okay. So obviously people can see how he plays that
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
not cheating.
yeah.
Okay.
He's streaming and playing. He dies too. People kill him. It's not like it's thing.
Yeah.
It's just he's just a really good guy. And I've met some other guys that are on the same level as him. That play like him, and it's just they've been playing for so long, dude. They're just so fanatics, you know.
Yeah.
Um, it's crazy. Hold on, somebody's trying to call me. Let me send them a custom message in a podcast. Okay.
If
But
you'd
yeah.
like, we can end from within podcast, and I'd like
No,
to
you're
ask you about controversy, if you don't mind, about
you're
something you
good. Go
brought up.
ahead.
If you want to
Let's
go into that,
let's go
because I
down
want.
this road, dude.
Okay. Let me. I'm gonna stop it here, and then I'm gonna start again, and then we'll go from there. But I want to thank you for everything, for explaining from within, and I'm looking forward to it. You definitely have my support, and you will see it
Yeah,
in the
for sure.
future.
I appreciate it. If you guys ever need help with your game or anything like that, I always try to help people in the community. If they need help doing things, I'll go in and take a look at their blueprints and do my best. It's kind of everybody learning from everybody. But if you need help, I
Okay.
know a guy that works
Yeah.
in Unity,
Oh,
and
we're gonna move to Unreal. So me and my
oh,
partner, we're deciding to do a side scroller in Unreal Engine. So I still have a
oh,
lot of studying to do.
you know what
So
I would do? I would if I were you, I would move to Godot. If you're gonna do a side scroller, go to Godot and do it.
good to. Okay, you'll have to
Godot.
show me that.
Yeah.
But sounds good. Yeah, definitely. Thank you again, and I appreciate it. The game I'm working on is totally different. It has this is my solo project. When I'm done with that, then I'm
Hmm.
moving on to that.
If
But
you
yeah.
want to keep the podcast going for now, just roll into the controversy. We can do that too.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna end it here, then start again, and then definitely so it can be separate. Cause I'll explain to you in a sec. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. This is Texas Toast. He's working on From Within. It's gonna be a big hitter, coming when it's ready. Yeah, look
Yeah,
out for it.
when it's ready.